Ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. خانم ها و آقایان، درود بر شما و خوش آمدید. Before I begin, I regret to share with you that only hours ago we learned that Armita Geravan, a 16-year-old girl, finally succumbed to the blows that Ali Khamenei's thugs dealt her for being brave enough to be a woman in Iran. In honor of Armita and all those who have been killed by this anti-Iranian regime, let us join in a moment of silence. Thank you very much. I'd like to start by thanking the World Within Foundation for gathering us today at the Millennium Gate Museum and the National Monument Foundation for hosting and opening this, their home, to us. Today we are here to honor not just one of the greatest leaders in the history of my country, Iran, but one of the most consequential visionaries of all time, Cyrus the Great. The world has seen great philosophers and great statesmen, but in Cyrus the Great, we see the unique combination of both. He was a profound thinker who outlined a groundbreaking vision for humanity: equality, respect, and justice for all colors and creeds. Yet he was also a capable statesman who was able to implement this historic vision and show his people a new way of life, not just in words, but in action. Yet, there have always been forces who fought against this vision and its implementation. Cyrus's vision was not great just because it was new. It was great because it toppled the unjust rules and rulers of his time. The Babylonians did not simply accept Cyrus's path of justice and righteousness. He had to fight to implement it, and he won. Unjust rules and rulers, regrettably, have not gone away. We see this with unfortunate clarity, as our region of the world is once again plunged into darkness by those ancient forces of division, hatred, and evil, with this month's terrorist attack against Israel. We Iranians are far too familiar with these forces of evil because for 4 decades they have occupied our country, Cyrus's country. So as these evil forces fight to annihilate our ancient cousins, the Jewish people, it is particularly poignant to be here to honor Cyrus the Great. But in these trying times, in the presence of this tribute to Iran's great statehood, I bring you a message of good news from my compatriots in Iran. During the 2,500-year celebration of Iranian civilization, at the seat of our historic empire in Persepolis, when Cyrus the Great's tomb lays, my late father called out to Cyrus in front of dozens of world leaders and nations, saying, "Cyrus, sleep in peace, for we are awake." As in many things, my father was a man ahead of his time, and we were forced to face a black page in the history of our nation under the Islamic Republic. But today, his words ring more true than ever, because today, the youth of Iran are undeniably awake. Not only are they awake, but inspired by their forefathers, Cyrus the Great, they are fighting to reclaim our country from the forces of darkness and rebuild it with his vision. Indeed, it was 7 years ago on this very day, Cyrus the Great's day, that Iranians set their sights on Pasargad, the same location where my father delivered that speech. In the process, they set our country on a path to liberation and renaissance. The Islamic Republic, fearful of our youth's connections with their ancient inheritance and its power to inspire them to rise up against their tyrannical dictatorship, blocked the roads to Cyrus's tomb. Undeterred, some broke through the roadblocks. Others carried on foot. When they reached the barriers around the tomb, guarded by regime security forces, they forced their way over the blockades, facing violent beatings as they did. They were convening at Cyrus's tomb to honor his legacy under the darkness of the Islamic Republic, to remind themselves of the light of our history, but they did much more than that. They ended up inspiring a nation. When they finally reached his tomb, they realized just how vast in numbers they were. Tens of thousands of young Iranians seeking what Cyrus sought, Iran's freedom, prosperity, and peace with other neighbors, found out that they were not alone. They had strength in numbers and broke out in chants of Iran is our homeland, Cyrus is our father. This overwhelming organic gathering stirred our nation awake. After many years in the slumber of cynicism, in which many thought Iran would never again be free, the young people who gathered at Cyrus's tomb on that day reminded them that Iran is not the Islamic Republic, that indeed we are in a battle between Iran and the Islamic Republic. In the years since that historic gathering, my compatriots have risen up against their tyrant and this evil regime with increasing frequency. Too many young people who should be with us today no longer are. But they lost their lives fighting for the very values we are here to honor today. And I will make sure that their loss will not be in vain. I don't see many visionary leaders around the world today, but I do find them in one place, the streets in Iran. And we shouldn't be surprised, for after all they are heirs of Cyrus the Great. My friends, it is these visionary leaders who can bring about peace in our region. Just as Cyrus freed the Jewish people from Babylonian enslavement and helped them to rebuild their temple, today Iranians are fighting to free themselves from the enslavement of the Islamic Republic and to rebuild our own temple, Iran. When they are successful, I am confident that they will continue their march to establish Cyrus's legacy and build peaceful relationship with our friends, both Israeli and Arab, across the Middle East. So I say to all of our friends gathered here today, that if you seek peace in the Middle East, if you seek prosperity for humanity, if you seek the same values of Cyrus that we are here today to honor, do not let that just be a thing of the past, but a thing of the future. In closing, I'd like to return to this statue. The poet says, "This home is beautiful, but it is not my home." For us Iranians forced to live our lives in exile, that quotation has rung all true for more than 4 decades, as we have sought temporary refuge with those kind enough to grant it. But today, as we feel more hopeful than ever before that Cyrus's heirs are carrying on his legacy, we are closer than ever to reclaim our homeland and its rightful place in the world. In the meantime, however, thanks to the generosity of the World Within Foundation and the hospitality of the Millennium Gate